Morning, YouTube. Brandon was unavailable today. He had to cancel yesterday, so I reached out to a couple of guys and see if they could jump on. But Cameron was willing to do it. So what's up, man?
What's up? How's it going today?
Good. I know we've met in Vegas a few times, had some fun, but this is your first time on my channel, right? So maybe quickly introduce yourself to my audience that may not know who you are yet.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Cameron. I'm based out of Northern California. Um, Long story short, I was a paramedic and a volunteer firefighter for a hot minute, and decided that that wasn't the career path for me. So I'm transitioning into mortgage lending now. I currently do business development management, and I've gone to school for way too many degrees, and I think I finally found what I want to do. So it's kind of my short story.
Very cool. So just like you, we both live in high cost of living areas, and but this seems like a very big pivot moment for yourself, right? Like you said, you kind of left the firehouse, you're pursuing something else, and even I think when I first met you in Vegas, year two, you had some construction business going on too, right?
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things of you got to figure out how you're gonna thin the herd and focus on one or two things at a time and not a million. So I was starting a family, and that definitely just kind of led to making some important decisions as far as am I gonna do this for me and myself, and am I gonna just really focus on what I'm trying to accomplish, or am I gonna do something else to please everybody else? So that was a big pivotal moment for me.
So I mean, what exactly? Well, let's talk about a little bit why maybe mortgage that you're going into. Like, what direction is that for?
Yeah, so I mean, there's obviously some influence from people in the community. Just talking, I love finances and economics. I went to school, got a bachelor's degree in that. And during college, one of my favorite things to do was sit down and go over people's personal finances with them and kind of help them just build a budget. I wasn't by any means a financial planner or anything like that, but I was just helping the little guy out going from nowhere to getting their first home, what that looks like. And I've always just kind of had it in the back of my mind of like I want to work on it, but I thought I was going to actually become a realtor. And the more I talked with people, and the more I realized that there are those clients that it's going to take a lot more out of you. You're going to be working for $2 an hour. I just realized that that wasn't fully my calling, and I want to do something real estate adjacent. And so I chose mortgage. So I was listening to, of course, Cody Davis and Mike, Mr. Zuber, and as he was speaking, and I was on a walk, I was like, this is actually really intriguing. I really want to kind of look at this. And I did some deep diving. I actually met up with someone else in the community that's a mortgage lender. He lives here in Sacramento. And we're just going to kind of work something out to where I kind of help him and he helps me a little bit. And so that's the cool thing about ORAT is like there's always someone already where you want to be. And you kind of have that mentorship reference point, and people are pretty open about sharing that. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very good. Yeah, like I definitely agree. The one rental at a time community is not like any other community out there. And like I said, I met you in year two, and at that time you're still in the firehouse, and that must have been a big decision also for you, right? So that's where we're kind of talking about a lot of pivotal moments for you. So was a lot of this because of going to the one rental at a time event year two? You started looking at things maybe a little bit differently, but so why so much changes? It seems like.
Yeah, I don't want to get too emotional about it, but what I can tell you is in 2024 I lost my father. And since then I've lost about six family members. And so that's really kind of created a big impact on when you think about, your daily impact, and you want to be a servant member of the community, and you want to lead by example. And then you look back and you go, okay, like that's all great, but in 10 years, am I still going to love this career? And is my body going to be able to hold up for it? And then ultimately, like, am I going to be able to be with my family and serve my family? And so, as much as I really like the idea of being a firefighter and rising through the ranks and getting through training, I decided that I really don't, it wasn't as big as a calling as it was to be a father and a husband. And so that really kind of made me pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree a lot to that sentiment. I mean, there's some guys that are they love doing it for 32 years or whatever, a long career, and even when they retire, that's kind of their identity. But it's a great job, but I think some people, I think 10 years, right? I think everybody hits like a moment 10 years where it's kind of like, okay, what direction do I want to go in? And some guys they are stuck in that career though, right? They look at it for the pension and the benefits, and they don't
Hmm.
really have any other options. So I like that you, like you said, you kind of looked at things and looked at things a bit differently, and you took the leap. And Harrison Trade Better 99 does have a great question because you talked about possibly being a realtor, but you chose the mortgage side. But he says, Cameron, what about the mortgage side excites you the most?
I think that's kind of the cool thing about me is I've always been one that I seek out mentors and experts in the career before I make the jump. So to be fully transparent, I'm not in the schooling yet. I'm in the side of I have about 3 or 4 people in my market that I really trust and respect their opinions, and so I'm actually I can when it came to them, right, I'm always an add value guy. So I came and I said, hey, I think I can add some value to your business. I don't know what that looks like, but right now I'm a business development consultant for some doctors in the area. So you tell me what systems you got or what problems you're trying to solve, and I'll try to solve them for you. And in exchange, I'd like to learn about the mortgage business. Now, with that, I love interacting with people. I love talking finances. As my wife would say, that's probably one of the downsides is I'm always talking numbers. And so I'm trying to compartmentalize that and really do something that I love with it. So I think the thing that excites me the most is working with people, helping them get creative with their strategies and go from there. So.
And I think we touched this off a little bit about what area you are in, right? So you are in a high cost of living area. So that does kind of factor into a lot of your decisions, right? So I'm not sure if moving is part of your thought process, but where are you at on that, being in a high cost of living area and as far as making your next moves and whatnot?
Yeah, so we're not planning to move. We are established. We do have some great family members around us, some good friend groups, and this is where my wife was born and raised too. So, really kind of solidifying that. But the recognition, kind of like you within Hawaii, it's such a high cost of living area. Like we have a couple rentals here, but it's just getting to the point that it's ridiculous. And then I think the other side of it is just looking for more like tenant friendly states. And so we finally, after some research, found some. And then we honed in on one, and now we're just trying to hone in on the markets. So I can talk more about that if you want down the road. But yeah.
Yeah, before we jump into that part, maybe talk a little bit more about where you are at, and like you're saying, what has been the tenant experience that you've had in your area?
I think for the most part, it's pretty solid. I did not have a great time working with property managers. I worked with the lumberjack landlord and been through his boot camp. Now I'm going on my second time. And just a recognition of you're going to care a lot more than anybody else about your properties, and then not having the systems in place of how to monitor them. And so I just kind of felt like I needed to be full on, and so me and the property management company decided to split ways, and I took that over. But for the most part, I realized that a lot of my problems I was having with tenants and the hard time I had placing tenants was coming from having a poor property management company. And so that was a really rough recognition. And I said, well, this is kind of like the Dion idea of like either I'm going to quit and be done with it and sell my stuff, or I'm going to go ahead and move forward and learn from this and kind of execute. And so me being me and my personality, I decided to move forward. So.
So I think the one thing, so if a lot of people here are in school and you check the map section, there is a lot of people living in the California area. And I think that is the one struggle, right? Is do I pick up and leave? I have roots already in this area. So how do I make it work, right? So like yourself, you already have some rentals in California, but you are
Mhm.
looking at other options, right? So what have you discovered so far, and kind of where are you at on that part of your journey?
Like what area have I discovered so far, or what do you
Well,
looking
I mean,
for?
what process did you go to? I mean, well, how are you looking for a certain market? Is out of
Sure.
state for sure the way you're gonna go? Or are you
Yeah.
still contemplating it?
Yeah. So I that process is so I have family in Indiana. They're in Fort Wayne area that I haven't seen in a long time, but I've known the market because that's where my father grew up. We only visited once that I can recall, but always the hearing the stories of it's so much cheaper out here, and cheaper isn't always better. So doing the due diligence is kind of the phase we're in right now. So we we identified that Indiana was kind of where we wanted to go, just in the sense of I like I'll call it rental politics there better. The cash on cash return is better. But as we all know, you got to build a team. You know, Millennial Mike, kind of watching his journey and hearing what he said, it's really important and crucial to build that team and kind of get those connections before I get out there. And so that's what I'm working on right now is identifying, honing in the markets a little bit better, starting to work on the teams. So we have 13 cities, I believe we're looking at right now. We're trying to get it down to 8. We're flying out there in May for 4 days. So I'm pretty much between now and then just meeting with realtors and not so much mortgage people, but construction people, trying to pinpoint areas, property managers. And the way we're looking to acquire is, I do like residential. I really like 30-year fixed rate, but I'm also looking at up to 20 units. So it just kind of depends on what's there. And then we'll deploy some capital. And then once we make sure that we like the strategy, then we'll start selling stuff here and deploying more capital over there. So,
Oh, really? So I didn't know that was part of the plan of possibly selling stuff you have there to transition somewhere else.
yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's either I'm going to do that or I'm going to leverage them in the sense of kind of like a Zuber sense of like what he's doing with Fresno of like refining out those properties and then using that money to purchase. It's hard because we're already in the appreciation play here. We're already so many years in the loans. They're COVID loans, so the rates are just so low. I think the best way I can leverage a property right now is doing some sort of HELOC factor on those properties, but it's still in the back of the mind. The way I look at it is, how much is this one property going to produce in 10 years? And let's say, so I have a property right now, it's at like 2,400 a month. In 10 years, we'll call it 4,500 ish a month. And that's like being really aggressive. If you go conservative though, you're at 3,200. So I'm going to make 700 bucks more there. Okay. If I sell that property and I deploy that capital into 5 properties in Indiana, which is about what it'll equate to, how much rent does that get? Okay. Let's call it 5 grand. Well, in 10 years, is that 5 grand going to be worth more than the $700 I'm going to gain here? So it's like, am I playing for cash flow or appreciation? The cool thing is with this, I can kind of play appreciation to get my cash flow. So it's like having my own little business, but we're gonna have to fill it up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big struggle, and especially like Hawaii, right, is it's hard to get back in, right? If you were to sell those properties and transition to another market, and if you ever want to get back into California, then it's a lot more challenging to get back into that market. So that's
Yeah,
the
and
hard part.
I don't know. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin, but like I've always liked the industrial flex space, and in California that can make a lot of sense. But as you know, there's a lot of things going on here that have caused businesses to not want to be here. So just trying to really understand and I guess get crystal clear on where I want to focus. So Indiana is the main play.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you
for-
never know, right? California could go back to what it once was, right? It's such an amazing place, right? And that's the thing, right? It's hard. It's
so
like, yeah, exactly, right? But
so
it's such a great place, and then unfortunately, things have happened, and it's maybe they'll realize it one day what they have, right? And people will start moving back there. But it seems like people are trying to exit. I see Steven from the Bronx. He does have a question for you. So he
yeah.
says, I think the lumberjack is great. I heard a number of people take the lumberjacks boot camp more than once. Can you tell me why many people go through that course more than one time?
Sure. So, and you're referring directly to the boot camp. So there's a course and there's a boot camp. The course is attached to the boot camp. So, right, it's just like process of information. The way I think is you want multiple touches. At every stage, especially in your investment journey, you're going through different stages in your investment journey. So first it was becoming a PM for my local properties. Then it's going to explore another market. How do I vet these people properly? I mean, you're talking about a guy who has over 5,000 years of rental experience. So I'm not saying that it's the end all be all and that you just need to focus on that one person, but you have to recognize where there is great talent and great mentorship and take advantage of that. And so that's how I see it is like I get to talk to this individual every week for 12 weeks, and then we really dive into. He does his initial, what's going on through the course, and then it's open forum. And he typically goes. I have been in there where it's gone over 3 hours. So I mean that's a pretty solid thing, and he helps you in multiple ways. I mean there is a few people I've referenced to him that I'm like, hey, based off what you're telling me in your investment journey, I would definitely take his course because it's going to save you a ton of money. I'm not one to sugarcoat anything. I don't like salesy gimmicks, but when something is as good as it says it's going to be, I take advantage of that. So, yeah.
Hey, Gus is here. Good morning, Gus. I'm still waiting for my episode 6, I think it is. I was waiting on Gus's YouTube channel. So
Oh,
that one,
nice.
yeah, that one's fun. He likes to do more like a panel style, so he has about 3 other people on. So
Nice.
should be coming out soon. I did put Cameron's Instagram page in the chat, so if you want to connect with him, if you're not in school, but he is also in school, so you can always reach out to him there. And Hyder put Lumberjacks course down there. So if anyone wants to check it out, they can go check out the Lumberjacks course. A lot of people have taken it. And like Stephen and Cameron were mentioning, people have taken it more than once, right? So they do get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say if you want to reach out to me, school's gonna be the best.
Okay.
I'm
So
really
there.
not a Facebook or Instagram person. I'm working on, obviously, if I'm going to go into a mortgage, I'm going to need to be a little bit better about that. But I'm a relationship guy. So if you reach out to me through school, I will definitely get back to you a lot faster than if you try to do Instagram or Facebook.
Hey, morning. Momo Gets Money's here. What's up, Mo? I've seen you here before. I think you run in Gus's circle. So I think you guys are good friends on social media. So thanks for stopping by. Stephen appreciates your answer you gave him. Harrison has another question. So he has a young
Sure.
child also, just probably a little over a year, I believe. But he's
Okay.
asking, he said, Cameron, how do you balance your time with a young family?
Yeah, I think there's a multiple layers to it, if you will. But I think the biggest thing I would say is it's a constant work in progress. I think as anyone that's been married or in a relationship and had a kid, it's a forever growing experience. I really faith is a big part of our life. So we are Christian, and so that's very important to us, and so that's our foundation, if you will. And then as far as working with my wife, one of the cool things we do is we have a gym membership to a local gym here that they do 2.5 hours a day of free childcare. And so every week, me and my wife will go there, drop the kiddo off, and then we spend 2.5 hours reviewing our week, planning the next week, getting meals set, and just helping each other out. And so I think it's just really like learning how to allocate time to that, and just really focusing on like what's important to you. Not every week needs to be 10 or 15 things. It's like one or two things, and then just like working on getting 1% better. Like no one is going to be perfect. So that's what I would say is just really focus on being the 1 or 2% better. So
Cool. I see a few firefighters stopping by. I see Brett stopping by. So what's up, man? We've been chatting recently about some stuff. Hey, Ike is here. Ike, I wanted to try and get on also to join us, but unfortunately, he didn't want to call in sick today. He's actually went into the station. You know what? But on that point, though, I did see a great post by Ike on X. He was talking about how he's going to save commute time between some of his projects, I believe. And I think he has a little camper now that he's leaving at his project or something or something like that with maybe his tools and
oh,
stuff. But
cool.
he's trying to figure out a way to help with the commute time between projects.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a tool trailer, I mean, that's those contractors that actually do really well. They have a full on enclosed trailer just full of tools. And I don't know if they typically leave it overnight, but like some of them have the smaller ones that they can park in the garage, and man, that will save you time and money.
All right, so Momo Gets Money says, I think there. So let's kind of get into the out of state stuff a little bit then. So he
Sure.
says, I think there's a lot of opportunity in out of state markets, but it requires good research and trusted boots on the ground, and one shouldn't expect to never visit the area. So on that point, you said you have family in Indiana, though, right?
I
So
do, but I won't be using them for investing, if you will.
okay, so it wasn't that had nothing. So you actually did research and was looking for which
Yeah.
market fit better. Okay. So talk about that as far as maybe what you were looking at. Was there certain data points? I mean, how did you make a
Sure,
decision on
sure. So
Indiana?
school community is very important to me. That's where I find a lot of people that I can reference. Same thing with the boot camp. There's a couple people in there that I've reached out to that are in the area. Dylan, I'm sure you know Dylan. He's involved in that market, so me and him connect here and there. But I think it's just the matter of building the team. So a lot of people they use the machine gun approach and they'll spray an entire state. I don't. I think that can be very dangerous. So I'm pretty much just starting to pick them off. I'm trying to snipe, if you will, or be a sniper. Is like I'm looking for. I got the 13 markets I'm looking at. I want to be down to 5 by the time we go out there, and I want to have at least 2 to 3 people in each market. So, and I need them to be what I would consider a market expert. So what those phone calls are going to kind of look like is it's not only going to be a due diligence check before I head out there, as far as tell me about yourself, tell me about the market a little bit. I do use ChatGPT, I do use Claude, I do use a lot of AI, but I also recognize it's a tool. It's not your brain. So there's a level of like checks and balances, and then sometimes you can reference points based off what other people have said and see if it checks out with the other person. So for me, that's kind of how I play the game. Is there's due diligence, there's checkpoints, and you just got to be smart about it. People that deploy capital quickly, that's where it gets dangerous. You know.
So you
So
so, so you touched on right now you have 13, I guess, areas, right? You
yeah.
want to get it down to 5. And not one time so far I've heard you mention really like population growth or prices or anything of that matter. So are those a big factor in you like making your decision on what area? Or you like you said
Um,
you're looking at more at the
yes
resources
and
there?
no. Yes and no. I I like to be in markets that are on the upswing for sure. Not just population, but also outside factors. I prefer hospitals, colleges. I'm very Dion in that matter of fact, as there has to be a driving force, and there needs to be more than one. I don't necessarily care about being in a major city. I prefer to be on the outskirts. I like to have more control. I like to have relationships. Because once I do hone in, probably on 2 or 3 markets is probably the idea of what I'm going to start with. And they're small towns. They're not huge markets. Then it's really just like actually going to listen to cases for a day, as far as how do the judges handle disputes with landlords. A lot of people they're thinking more about uh, what's my cash on cash return. I'm thinking about cash to cash return, but first I want to make sure my problems, when I have problems, they get solved. If I have to fly out there and then it's like a month long process, like that's a time cost. So it's less money, more time, right? And so really there's a balancing factor for me there is I want to be able to make sure that I can have teams out there and lawyers already set and that's in place. Having a family that's young, like that's very important to me. So I plan to go out there about once a quarter right now. Once I'm in the build phase, it might be up to once a month. But yeah.
Ike has a question for you. It says, "What's a small town to you?"
Not your small hike. Um, what I would say is I don't want a major metropolitan city. So I have a lot of people. I started joining some Facebook groups and stuff as far as investor communities, and there's a lot of Indianapolis space. Like that's not me. I want the outskirts of that. I want to be able to when I walk in a courthouse. I don't want them to know me by any means, but I want there to be a level of human interaction. I don't need oh, well, you just think wrong. It's done. So I guess to me, I don't know if I specifically have a number, but yeah, I want to make sure that it's not a major metropolitan.
Well, Ike wants to fire back and say size doesn't matter if it gets the job done.
Maybe in your case, like
Um, but so I'm not sure how much you knew about Indiana before you started researching it, but what has been maybe the biggest kind of eye-opening things about the areas that you're looking at or that market, I guess?
um, people are nicer. There's a
Wait,
lot.
nicer than you thought or you're
Yeah.
just comparing it to where you're at, nicer than where you're at?
Yeah, so like I lived in Arizona for 6 years. I lived in California. I've visited multiple states for multiple reasons, and the conversations I have, they feel like they are productive conversations that aren't just a brush off. There is a level of reminding them that I am going to do my due diligence and check to make sure that the numbers are good, and you can't just throw me a California number, as I like to say. But there's also a level of like it's just a genuine interaction, and that I appreciate. You know, I think as any investor, when you're getting ready to deploy capital, like you want to make sure that there's a good level headedness to what you're doing, and so I think that's probably been one of the best things. Is yeah, just
I did
remember.
skip over one of Ike's questions. I forgot. He says, where did it go? Are you able to write your own loans for Indiana?
It's a great question. I don't know. So yeah, I don't.
Is that part of the plan possibly though? I mean,
It can be. I do have the idea of so part of the idea of going to those smaller outskirts towns is to visit the local credit unions and kind of build a relationship of like, I want to help build up your area here, and I want to be, a good steward of, your properties, and what does a working relationship look like? And I'm not to any degree Matt, the lumberjack, but he has made his own loan products through local credit unions and such, and so I'm not on that level, but there's a vision of getting to that point, I'd say. So yeah.
Momo Gets Money is asking, what asset class are you focusing on for these outskirt properties? Single family homes, small 2 to 4 units, or large apartments or larger apartments?
Yeah, so what I typically say is I like 2 to 4 units. That's my preferred, but I definitely will not turn down anything up to 20 units is what I would consider. So, obviously, if I'm going to be taking on that level of a larger apartment, the 5 to 20, I would need to have a significantly strong team in the area for me to even consider it. That's where you got to take the number side out of it and look at the human side. So, I will be starting with 2 to 4 for 90% of it, and then after we probably do 3 or 4 deals, I'll start considering multifamily.
All right, so I'm sure, as for most people, when they first start thinking about out-of-state investing, there's a lot of fears, a lot of concerns there. So during your research and where you're at now, have those fears gone away and new fears replaced them, or
Mm.
like where is that right now?
Um, I think there's always fears when you approach these things. I think uh, the know thyself factor is a big part of it. Is you have to know like what can you stomach. As someone who I've had over 30 different, we'll call it business partnerships, relationships, what have you, and I've exited 3 or 4 of them pretty successfully. Uh, I have a pretty big stomach or a pretty big appetite for risk and risk mitigation.
You had to set me up for that one, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you have a
So, uh, so,
Ah.
but I
Well,
think,
it's just so
yeah,
quickly, just to let you,
yeah,
I did cause Cameron, I made trouble to him, and it's not the reason why, but he is on a health kick. So we can talk about that towards the end too. I know you're
sure.
putting a lot of focus on your fitness this year also, right? But
Yeah, no, it's been good. You've been really motivating in the background. Just hear your voice, and I'm like, I gotta change this. It's making me mad. I'm walking too fast.
uh,
I look better though, don't
I won't even say anything.
I?
Yeah, that's why I had to AI your thumbnail. I couldn't use what you gave me.
Yeah, my wife's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "That's me, apparently."
Ike is asking for something to catch your eyes, not talking food. Does it need to have a specific cap rate, IRR, or just list price right now?
Mm. Um, I've played the list price game. I don't really care for that. Cap rate, it depends. I'm more IRR kind of person. Yeah, the list price one. I mean, I found houses in California that are under 100 grand. They need $350,000 in work and are burnt on the backside. But You got to be really mindful when you're looking at that stuff and know what you're looking for. So I would say, really, I do want the rate of return, but I also recognize that sometimes you're looking for almost. I'm not gonna say a break even, especially not out in Indiana, but like California, like you're playing an appreciation play, whereas out there, it's more about like what is this actually going to cash flow. So I like to be at minimum 200 a door cash flowing, and I definitely factor in every little bit as far as how would I say it? Making sure that all my expenses are built in. So, yeah.
Well, Hyder says, you guys and gals can lose all the weight you want. I'm trying to gain weight to get back to health.
Yeah, that wasn't a problem for me after high school. So,
Yes, that's why Kameron hasn't changed his Facebook profile in like 20 years. I said, you got to send me a different picture, man. I can't use that one.
that's only 8 years old,
I'm
man.
going to get banned for fake news or something for putting that on there. But to that point, like Ike asked, what attracts or what catches your eye for the property. Are you, Zuber talks about only doing great deals, right? So,
Yeah.
But you are looking at starting in a new market, right? So are
Yeah.
you looking for a home run deal off the bat, or what is a home run for you? And are you going to are you trying to take on like a Burr project possibly,
Mm-hmm.
or what is your kind of ideal way to get into this market possibly?
Yeah, not in the beginning. I don't need it rent ready, but I need it to be minor cosmetic. Um, I I would say I do want a deal, but I'm not looking, like I said, for a home run. So I think personally, I really just I need proof of concept more than anything. I think that's where a lot of people can kind of misjudge things. Is they want the home run, they're willing to sacrifice for the home run, and then they can get caught with their pants down. So I don't want that. I just want I want proof of concept. And then once I have proof of concept and I start to know the area better, I start to build local rapport as far as knowing PMs and realtors, then I'll start, as I get further in, I would get more comfortable. But there is a level of like, I do want to take an easy on it. So I'm a 1 to 2 unit a year guy, unless it's, once I'm a couple years in, then I consider more. But, a lot of people, yeah, I think people can get too aggressive too quickly. So I'm very mindful about that.
Yasik says, just do the weight swap with All Nighter Hider. I started thinking about the rip packs, right? With the equalizer for the bottles, right? To equal. I was thinking of you and Hyder getting your guys' weight to equalize with each other.
Well, you give it some time, and there won't be much left. So
That's well, like I said, that by year 4 event, we may not recognize you, right? It seems I think everyone is
yeah, no,
kind of transformed
you
for
won't.
next year's event. All
You
right.
won't.
Well, we have it on record then right now. Cameron said we will not recognize him at the year 4 event. So what is that? It's almost April. So what is that? 9 months? 9 months
Yeah,
away, roughly.
yeah. I'm some things that people don't know about me is previously I did do like long endurance races. Not long like anything over 100 miles or anything, but I've done half Ironmans. I've done half marathons. Um, I did the Beast in Arizona, which is a Spartan race. So when I get serious, as a former athlete, like I take it very seriously. So I'm curious. I'm curious to ask you how much you think I've lost since the event.
Man,
I know
you're
it's hard
just
to
setting
tell.
me up for all these things, man.
Hey, you know what? You set me up plenty in Vegas. So
No, I'll say I don't know what you started at, but I say a good 20 pounds at
yeah,
least.
yeah, I'm down 24 pounds. So
Yeah, I mean, you cut your hair and everything, so
yeah, that was like 3 pounds of it, right?
all right. We can do this in at year 4 Vegas. But let's kind of get back, yeah, a little bit to so I guess you're committed then all in for out of state. Like you are, there's no hesitation already. You found your market, you're going to narrow it down, and now it's just about building your team, and that's it. So I mean,
Yeah, so I found the state. I've identified the markets, right, and then now I'm going to go ahead and find something to execute in. So this next month is really making the phone calls. So taking a few hours a day and making the phone calls.
all right, I've never seen Matt Lofton here before, but definitely thank you for tuning in. But I do not appreciate you asking if the Bears are moving to Indiana.
Oh,
Uh,
that's like happening
shut
for sure.
no, uh, but
Thanks for asking, by the way.
there is a few people that are in Chicago that are like, screw it, you guys can have them. If the mayor wants to raise my more taxes on me, then they can go to Indiana.
Heck yeah.
Stephen P does say stay with him in the 200-pound club.
I mean, I'll be there. I mean, I did a long story short, I did a scan, and I really, if I go under like 210, I am like not healthy. So, I know that's weird for Mark to hear, but that's just an honest.
Well, Matt Lofton, yes, no, I'm just joking around. Good question, definitely. But make sure you subscribe though, at least. If as you can tell, we're just having a lot of fun here, but also trying to get some good information out. But let's see, Lynn. Oh, Ike Hobbs says your ORAT 4 needs to have a Saturday morning half marathon or something. Huh, interesting. Oh, yeah, Monday, because well, hopefully people will be able to stay Monday. I think Monday would be a good thing to do that. But Lynn just got here, who's also in California, the high
Yeah.
cost of living area, investing remotely. But she says, where is he going out of state?
So think about greater Indianapolis area, so Indiana. That's really where I'm looking. So I'm looking southeast of the greater Indianapolis area. So
So,
there's
so Lynn is killing it. So that would be another great resource to pick her brain on how she's doing. And I know she's done some burrs recently, and she's doing a lot of cool stuff. So she was also on Bigger Pockets Rookie, and
oh
you know
cool.
she's big. Did receive a belt at year 3 ORAD event, so she might be
Nice.
in the book at some point that
Okay.
Zuger is talking about.
Yeah. Is
Let's
she an
see.
ORAT or is she in the school community?
Yes, she is. That's
Okay.
Lindsay. I don't know. Oh,
Okay.
maybe because I said
No, I'll reach
Lynn.
out to her. Or she can reach out to me, whichever.
Yeah. So Matt said he's born and raised in Chicago. Nicole says body composition is underrated. Al Hider says the exercise portion of ORAT 4 would be a few days before the event so we can recover and laugh during the event. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I need a few days to eat after we do the exercising, so I got to steal off Mark's plate.
Oh, yeah, I'll attest to that. He was stealing at the buffet. I would come back and I would have food missing on my plate. But yeah, us talk. So, could I see you kind of talk about where you're at? You're all in. Hmm.
You want me to ask you some questions?
Yeah, if you want, man. Whatever.
So why? I gotta know. How did you get to Pittsburgh from Hawaii? What was the
Well, you
driving
go
force on that one?
if you go listen to my story on
I
no
don't have time.
uh well, same thing. Biggest thing for me was I have someone that is investing there already. They're in Hawaii, and
Okay.
so they're already investing in that market. And same thing. I mean, I I knew of Pittsburgh, and it is it you think of Pittsburgh as being small, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
But if you look at like the top 50 markets, housing and things like that, it's in the top 25. So it's actually a pretty big market.
Okay.
It seems like it's a small market. So
Sure.
it's kind of weird in that sense. It's just that Pittsburgh is definitely a lot of different boroughs in it. So it does same thing like Indiana. Probably you just do have all these other smaller pockets in there. But
Sure.
that's how I ended up in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Looking back, did you feel like you picked the right market, or was it like just good enough, or did you execute well?
Well, that's kind of a
It's a loaded question for sure.
no. I mean, I feel like any market can work for anyone
Okay.
if they build or use the right resources and build a team. I think people go at it the wrong way, or they do it backwards. they try to like look at the numbers first and then think that's how they're going to succeed. And I think for a lot of us that have been investing for a while, you kind of realize that every market someone is making money, right? Someone is doing, I mean, even in California, if you had enough money, there's a lot of people that are
Oh yeah,
making money, right? So every market has its own challenges, but once you learn how to navigate those challenges, then a lot of people can succeed. It's just a lot of times people are either gonna quit too soon, or they just approached it the wrong way and didn't realize what kind of challenges they were going to face. So, so yeah, Yasik, who's going to possibly invest in Pittsburgh,
yeah,
but he's going to, look at a smaller outskirt portion of
sure.
Pittsburgh, so it's not really considered Pittsburgh. But yeah, so for me, it's not that. I mean, I'm sure I could have found a better market. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind there's markets that are better, but I feel like I'm getting the most out of Pittsburgh, and that comes down to us building all the resources and the people that we have in place. Like for example, right, like in Vegas, I don't know if you got to meet them, right, but there were guys that we work with that came out to the event,
Yeah, no, they're great.
right.
They're awesome.
So that's kind of what I feel like is working for us, right. So of course
Sure,
there could be markets that are better for different reasons, but we're getting the most out of Pittsburgh that we're putting into it also, right.
sure. Looks like we got a few questions too, so we can tap on those.
Let's see. So, hey, I see Jen and Kenny tuning in, and they're also in the
Oh
California high
yeah, right
cost of
on
living
them.
area. So, but
Yeah,
they invest in Texas. They invest out of state. I believe they may have closed recently on a property that they just got. I believe it's a new build. I think.
yeah,
Momo gets money. Says I'm from Los Angeles, living and investing in Oklahoma. Very cool. Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Well, you would it would have been funny if Brandon was on today. So he's in Texas and he has all his Oklahoma jokes. So I guess they border each other, right? So there's this back and forth thing between
you
them.
got to have some love in the community. That's what
Yes.
makes it fun.
Momo also says I've seen many investors go to Pittsburgh. I even researched it myself since 2024. The best price to rent ratios in the country currently, but that's not on paper. Yeah, there is. So there is a lot of good areas in Pittsburgh. I think there's a lot of. Well, I don't want to talk too high of it. I don't want a lot of people coming there, but I think it hasn't reached its peak too yet because it's still
Mm,
very affordable. And to that point, it's I think one of the last reports is still one of the last areas where or for the top markets, right? It's one of the last areas where it still makes more sense to purchase than rent from a cost standpoint, right? So it's slowly getting to that point where renting would make more sense, and then
sure.
the rent supply or the rental market would increase. Um,
I think you got to think too about the 30,000 foot view. Like, just because something's good on paper, does that mean that it's good for you? And I think that's where that's I've definitely been thought of as an outside of the box kind of thinker. I mean, I went to paramedic school, so that makes me a little crazy. Um, but I think the reality is like you do need to like numbers cannot be the only thing that matter. You have to
Absolutely.
think about the area, and I think Dion's. Are you willing to drive there to pick up a rent check? If
Mm,
you're not, it's probably not a good area. I worked in Stockton, California for several years as a paramedic. I would never invest there, ever. It's definitely a lot cheaper. There's a reason. So just some mindful thinking on that.
So yeah, like I said, Jacek was joking about Pittsburgh because, like I said, he's in Jersey, going to be looking to invest in Pittsburgh. So he's just speaking down on that market. So Momo was like, "What? Pittsburgh has nothing to look at. It has one of the most beautiful skylines in America, with three rivers converging and beautiful bridges and views." Yeah. Hey, Chris Wissing is here.
Hey, what's up, man?
Um, let's see. Yeah, Yasik. So this is one of Yasik's sayings that a lot of people hopefully will
Yeah,
pick up in the community. He likes that easy $1 over hard $2 anytime.
for sure. I agree with
Um,
that.
Jen, who just tuned in, seems like she does have a question. What class homes are you I guess, gonna be looking at investing in Indiana?
BC, B plus, or like B the whole class C plus. I won't go C minus, but that's like, that's kind of the hard thing is like without being there and having those relationships yet, like I don't know what that is. So the first quarter of the year for me. So I'm going out there 4 times this year. The first quarter was literally just identifying cities. The next quarter is establishing relationships and honing in on the cities that I like there. And then the Q3 and Q4 is actually, picking some properties and making sure the numbers work and working with local people to make sure I'm not crazy. So,
Yeah, Momo. Yeah, that's a great point on Yasik's easy $1 versus two hard dollar. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Any other questions you want to talk about out of state or any yet for me or?
I guess so. I kind of want to do some reflection with you. So looking back at going to Pittsburgh, right? Like, what are some things that you wish you would have done earlier on in order to like prepare yourself to invest out of state?
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you too. So, well, not from that standpoint, but I think a lot of people that have heard my story and listened. I guess unlike you who haven't listened to any of my stuff,
I've listened. I just
but
like giving you
no,
grief.
no, a lot of it is I attest a lot of it to being a first responder in the firehouse. A lot of times, you just figure things out to some extent. So definitely I could have done things a lot more strategic and been a lot of more detailed about the stuff that I was going to do. So I know I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm glad that I did it in a sense and
Yeah.
just took the leap. But definitely so a lot of it is, so like I said, I did have a friend that was already investing there before I was.
Mm-hmm.
But how we talk about in our community a lot of times is the 5 years of suck, and some people even say it's the 10 years of suck, right? But
Oh
five,
yeah.
let's say that 5 to 10 years, or that 5 to 10, the 1 through 5 is suck. The 5 to 10 is very boring. A lot of times, it's kind of just letting things figure itself out, right? So even though I had a friend that was investing there before me, he probably would have still, I guess, he would have still fell within that first 5 years of suck.
Hmm.
So even though he may have made mistakes, he didn't quite maybe realize them at that time yet. So even though he was ahead of me, we were just making the same mistakes together in a sense. Instead of him figuring out his mistakes, and now
Sure.
when I jump in, a lot of those mistakes should have been alleviated, right? But basically, I just jumped in on hit, and we were both drowning in a sense, right? I'm making the same mistakes as him because he didn't really realize he made a mistake, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been, I probably, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have found anyone that was past that 10 years in a sense. So I
Yeah.
probably would have ended up in a different market because I would have been maybe connected to someone else that I knew that might have been investing further in their journey. So I
Sure.
may have been and ended up in a different market from that standpoint. But that's also why, and Yasser kind of mentions it in our school community. We do have a good, probably the biggest, or you would see the biggest amount of people investing in Pittsburgh or looking at in that Pittsburgh area. And I think a lot of that is hopefully because I've made a lot of mistakes and I'm kind of past that 5 years already. So hopefully people that are thinking about doing it, they're not going to make the same mistakes that I did, where I
Sure.
just kind of followed up. I just kind of just jumped on the same mistakes and did the same mistakes as the person that I knew already investing there, right?
Yeah, and I think like that's just like no matter if you're investing far away or at home, mistakes are still going to happen. I mean, I personally think my property management company cost me in the neighborhood of $10,000. I had a few units that didn't rent for multiple months, and I was like, man, I thought this market, I thought it was better than this, and then come to find out they're being rude to half the people that come through it. So like for me, like I'm like, okay, like if you're rude to me, I wouldn't rent from you anyway. If you're gonna treat me like that when I'm trying to rent from you, how are you gonna treat me when I'm actually a tenant? And so there's just a lot of like, I guess learning opportunities as you go through it, right?
So what is your plan when you do get your first properties in Indiana? Are you going to self manage or are you going to use property management at first?
So I use Door Loop for my software, and my expectation would be that whoever's managing Well, I don't want to say managing my properties there, but whoever is overseeing my properties, kind of my boots on the ground, would utilize that software. And so, trying to, through learning the market and establishing relationships, finding someone that's open to that opportunity, I am not looking for someone to, at least I don't think I am looking for someone to execute my leases and be a PM. I think I can find a modified Dion lumberjack approach and manage it from afar. I've learned that having multiple people is really helpful. I mean, here I have a contractor and like three handyman. I actually have two contractors and like three handyman that I can reach out to, no problem. And that's it's like giving me the confidence, right? It's the same thing with like, my big thing here is like California laws for landlord tenant laws. Like they're a lot, and so like to lessen that burden and lessen that fear, going to court and seeing these attorneys execute, you're like, not all of them are going to be good, but the ones that are good, you're going to know. Like you're going to know how they deliver and lay the punches and hold people accountable. And so that's kind of what I look for. Is that was a lumberjack landlord recommendation. Is like, oh, you want to find a good, attorney, go to court. You don't have to pay them the $300 to $500 an hour. You just got to sit in the back for a day. You'll see some good ones. You'll see some horrible ones. And so if they got to defend their lease, they you're going to see pretty quick. So that's kind of like my trip that's coming up 3 months after May. So July, August timeframe, I'll be going to court and seeing how they operate.
Momo Gets Money says I'm in a C minus, maybe D plus property, and I'm definitely going up to B class minimum moving forward. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think sometimes maybe you got to do what you have to get in. You do got to realize C minus, D plus, you might have a little more headaches, but it's about just weathering the storm until you can hopefully transition into the next property, right? It's kind of just chess pieces on the board where
Mm-hmm.
you're levering it up and hopefully, but I think, like I said earlier, I think a lot of people just don't see that vision and they quit too soon, right? So
I think it's the sweat equity of real estate investing. When you start out, you're gonna get your. I mean, my first rental I have right now, it's a 1950s cinder block duplex. Like, it's pretty rough. There's been a lot of things that had to be done to that property. But there's the due diligence factor. Your first 2 to 3 years are just testing you, right? Like, can you stomach it? A lot of people like I haven't. I don't know how you are, Mark, but like I don't even look at the money that comes in to my account. Like it literally just sits in a rental income account, and when I need repairs, it's there. And if not, like I put an additional 10 grand per unit in that account, and it just sits because I don't want to have to deal with the headaches of it. And then when it hits, year 5, year 10, I want to start trying to live on it. Sure, I'll test the portfolio, if you will. But yeah, that's like the sweat equity of real estate investing. Whether you have money or not, like you're gonna run out of money.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think me and Cody Davis were talking about this on Monday, how I think Zuber's year 3 book will probably be super informative for a lot of people just because of the fact that I think Zuber, Dion, and Lumberjack, and even to Millennial Mike to some extent, is already people are getting a harder time to maybe relate to their journey,
Sure.
right? So if you haven't followed them from the beginning, you may not know as much of the struggles that they went through in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, right? So I think the year 3 book is going to be helpful for a lot of maybe people looking at one rental at a time or looking at the school community, because it's going to be more of those people that are maybe finishing up their 5 years of suck in that 5 to 10 year journey part of it. So I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of information and realize that they're on the right path and don't think that they're doing anything wrong. It's just like you're saying, it's just about weathering that storm and getting past those 5 years, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like when you think about like Zuber's vision, like there's growth and then there's impact. I think the book may not have as much growth to the ORAC community, but it may have a deeper impact. And through that impact and through the sphere of influence, he's going to actually attract more.
Yeah. Ike Hobbs is saying, I've been trying to get in with door loop and it's been a
Hmm.
nightmare. So do you like it? So I don't, so does he
Sure.
mean he's
The
trying to
software.
sign up with them? And
Yeah,
he, oh,
probably.
okay.
Yeah, getting in with them was definitely a journey. Uh, I will say, like, from initial contact to getting the account set up to getting the bank account stuff set up, it was probably like a month. But I think for me, I saw the vision. So I talked with Lumberjack pretty extensively about it. And the big thing for me is I don't want to pay for 20 pieces of software. So currently in my business, I have, and I'm about to add prop stream to my software, but I currently have Doorloop and I have a Google email and a Google Voice. So I have my own phone number that's just like not my personal cell, but it rings my personal cell. And I would say that it's definitely a learning curve with Doorloop, but they have the support there to help. So once you kind of get underway, like, you're not going to have to pay for QuickBooks. It's built in. That's fantastic to me. The only thing is, like, you got to recognize, like, they only deposit to one account. So for some people, I know you have a software that you have talked about before.
Yeah, so I use Baselane,
Base, what it
and
is.
they're kind of they've been on Zuber's channel recently a few times now, so it looks like they might be regulars. I'm not sure, but
Is it
Baselane.
relatively reasonable
So
price?
it's free,
Okay,
um, as of now. I mean, I don't know
sure.
if it will ever change, but there you can collect rent through them, but it's more of a banking for landlords.
Okay,
So it's I wouldn't, so you can't, so the one thing, so the way I try to look at it is Hemlane was more of a property management company first
sure.
that is trying to add more banking tools to it, I guess.
Sure.
Where Baselane was more of a banking platform first and is trying to offer more property management tools now. So
Okay.
you can collect rent and everything through there. Supposedly they were supposed to start incorporating like tenant communication type of stuff, but
Sure.
that hasn't come out yet. But right now it's kind of like a QuickBooks
Mm-hmm.
rent collection so you can set up multiple virtual accounts, so you can have each property has its own account.
That's nice.
Yeah, you can set up security deposit accounts, and it uses AI to tag. You can set it up to tag transactions. So, like for example, if you, you get your first water bill for the property,
Sure.
and you tag it that first time, it'll ask you, do you want to create a rule for it? So you can say,
Oh,
oh,
nice.
if you see this,
So it's
you
an
know,
automation factor.
like yeah, like
Nice.
Monroeville, whatever. It'll
Yeah.
tag that for this amount, or whatever, equal or this amount or whatever. It will be tagged as a water bill for this property, blah blah blah. And so a lot of times, like I think it probably gets rid of 90% of um, the work that you have to do, because there's still a few things that you'd have to go in and you probably would have to assign it or tag it yourself.
Sure.
But the majority, if it comes in the same reoccurring things monthly, it'll get tagged and put to each
That's the
property
thing
on
that
its own.
cracks me up is people see this AI stuff and they see all the automation factors and they go, "Oh, it's good to go. It's set it up." I'm like, "There's a checks and balances to it." I've built automations for companies for several years, and it's crazy how much people just immediately rely on it. I'm like, there's a like every quarter you should probably look and make sure it's doing what you want it to do because it can get really fuzzy.
See, I could tell Momo Gets Money is a smart guy. He says it's accurate. I've used Baselane and Hemlane. See, so yeah, he said he switched to Hemlane after trying Stes. Or maybe he switched off of Baselane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he says
Uh,
I've used Avail and tested Tenant Cloud. Yeah, yeah. So I
yeah.
I use both. I use both. I use Hemlane more for the um, tenant communication factor,
Hmm.
but also so like so they're incorporated with a lot of my boots on the ground in Pittsburgh. They're part of my team. So like if a maintenance request comes in, it goes
Yeah.
also directly to them too. So
Yeah. I like that.
um,
Doorloop has the same features, and I like those too. I mean, those are fantastic.
Gen Tam says you also have to underwrite correctly and be focused, unlike the bald guy. So she is referring to
Yeah.
the bald guy from
Yeah.
Ryan.
When you do a shotgun approach, and this is just like an IQ thing. It's like people that say, "Well, you can get really rich if you're diversified," and I just kind of look at them. I go, "Yeah, how's that worked out for you?" And they're like, "Well, I'm not fully rich, but I feel like I'm getting better." And I'm like, "So you took a shotgun, you shot it at the U.S., and you decided that that was going to be your sample size. So you have a sample size of, we'll call it 30 to 35 properties in 15 markets. Like, let's use common sense. Let's start with that. But that's my 2 cents on that one.
So I know you had about an hour, I think, because you had a
Yeah,
breakfast to go to or something, or what? No,
I
what?
have this thing called work, Mark. Have you heard of it? No, I'm good. I got a little time if you.
Okay, well, I don't know. Anything else you want to bring up, or you want to touch a bit more on the health side of things, like your foot, or
Um, I guess I think
any more
you kind of
questions
gave,
from?
yeah, you kind of gave some perspective as far as what the learning curve. But I guess being in my shoes, what would you be doing over the next 6 months? Do you think my plan is solid, or do you think you do something different?
No, I mean, I think keep doing what you're doing. So I think you touched on a little bit earlier how maybe school is the best place to connect with you. Maybe you're not the biggest yet on social media.
Okay.
If you, like you're saying, if you do go down the mortgage side and get that license, you're probably gonna. I would just start now, right? Just it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be on that, but even what you're doing for Indiana, right? Definitely document when you are there, but even just start putting it out there, like this is what I'm doing, and like I said, I mean that's big on. I think you touched on lumberjack, right? You took his course, you took it multiple times.
Yeah.
You had conversation with him, and I've talked about this, like even me doing this social media stuff. I mean, I get a chance to talk to Cody Davis once a week, basically. I get a chance to talk to Zuber once a week. I get a chance to talk to Brandon once a week. I talk Dion, Justin Cambra, Millennium. So a lot of successful real estate people, and it's all because either I'm talking to them on camera, and then off camera we talk a little bit, see what's going on, pick their brains and stuff. But it's just you put yourself out there, share your journey, talk about what you're doing, and then like you're saying, it's just about building these relationships where you can get ideas, bounce stuff off the walls with other people, and just other people that are doing same things, different things, but just getting a different perspective on stuff. But so yeah, I would definitely try to, and even Ike is not maybe on camera, like doing camera stuff as much, but I can definitely tell he is on X and sharing his story a lot. So he is
Oh yeah.
showing and talk. Yeah. So
Well, and
he,
he's actually doing deals, which is like, I don't know how he's getting these cheap deals like that, but I mean, I haven't, just in the short time I've known him in the last month, he's done two or three deals,
yeah.
and I'm like, that that's impressive. So
Yeah,
it's
and
cool.
like I said on X, he seems to have a good following growing. So
Okay.
he shares his story. He like I said, just today I saw a post of his talking about how he's trying to cut back on commute time and what he's doing, and he's sharing the deals he's closing on, or stuff he's looking at and why it didn't work out or what. But I think just talking about what you're doing, you'll be surprised as who reaches out to you and what resources they may want to share with you, or vice
Cool.
versa. Yeah.
All right, I could scale up a little bit. Well, awesome. Anything else you got for me?
Not much. I mean, anything you want to touch a little bit about the health. So
Yeah, let's do
so
it.
I think
I'm
you
here.
you spoke with Dr. Jeff, right, in Vegas at the, is it
Yeah,
right?
spoke with him.
And
Correct.
was that what put you on this path, or were you already thinking about it before that?
It was beneficial, but I am a very holistic person. I do not care for medicine if I don't have to. So I pretty much told him if I can't get my stuff together, I will definitely be contacting you on what you recommend. So for me, since the event, I don't know if you've heard of 75 Hard before, but I am on that. I'm on day 41. So I have done 178 miles since the event, and I am, 2 workouts a day and eating clean. So just paleo and keeping it simple. And you know, I when I was listening to Zuber the first time, he mentioned uh, doing the journey and then seeing him after the journey and hearing how much better he felt and how he felt young again and what have you. Like, I'm really not that old. I'm 32. So I think about my family. Me and my wife think we still want 4 kids. So if we're going to have 4 kids, like, I need to be here and be present. And I want to be involved in their life physically as well. So I think that the best way I can do that is, taking care of myself now. So it's been pretty rough, but I've been loving it. So,
Yeah, six saying it was me that pushed you.
oh, you were a huge factor. I came home and I was like, I'm starting tomorrow. I can't deal with him anymore. Um, but you know what? Like, sometimes you need that tough love. So I know if you didn't care about me, you wouldn't have spoke to me like that. So
What do
I'll
you
take
mean spoke to you like that?
I'll keep it professional.
All right, so I don't know if I don't know if you're willing to share,
Sure.
but how much you weighed in Vegas and what your goal might be. I know weight. I know it shouldn't be just the weight factor. It should be
Sure.
other things. But is there a certain amount that you're trying to
Yeah. So I
lose?
won't get too much into some of the numbers, but what I can tell you is, as someone who used to be uh, a very high level collegiate athlete before I got injured, um, I always need a goal that I'm working towards. So I signed up for a marathon at the end of this year in December. So that's my goal, if you will. My if you will, lifetime bucket list goal that I've had for a long time was to do an Ironman, and so that's probably 3 years out, maybe four. Um, and I was 343 in Vegas. I was like a 50 waist, and now I'm 321, and I'm in a 46. So, it's I'm doing 20 to 40 miles a week of walking, and it's slowly getting faster. And you got to build your cardiovascular endurance, but we'll call it humble beginnings. There's a lot of it's taking a lot longer. I'm a lot sore. I'm having to do a lot more. I'm not gonna say breaks, but I'm having to do a lot more. Just slow down and like rehab my body so it doesn't get so fatigued. So yeah, that's kind of some of the numbers. But yeah, the long term goal is an Ironman, which I've never done, and then the short term goal is the marathon at the end of this year. So,
Very cool. Another person that I think is out there sharing their story about the health and fitness side is Big Andy, who was in Vegas. I think he took a lot of things away from the Vegas event, and he started his YouTube channel. And like I said, Lane Five. I'm being a bad friend. I never really asked him what Lane Five meant, but go check out his YouTube channel. His first video does explain what Lane Five, where it comes from, and his channel is about faith, fitness, health, real estate, and whatnot. So go check him out. But yeah, he's on. Like I said, a lot of people I think is taking this health side seriously now.
well, I
And
normally wouldn't do this, but I'll do it for you. So I actually do have a fitness Instagram. Um,
yes, I know.
so
I tagged it. I tagged
did you
you.
tag that one or did you tag my
I
personal one?
tagged both of them.
Oh, you
So
did.
yeah,
Wow.
I tagged both of them. So
Okay.
you
Well,
people are
it's there.
you're supposed to accept it and share it.
Uh,
That's the whole
yeah,
thing.
I'm
I
really
try to
bad.
make it easy for you folks. Hey, Craig is here. Craig is in Minnesota. Yeah, we will
Hey,
be
there we
wrapping
go.
things up shortly, Craig. But Craig is another one who he's I think he's thinking about moving his portfolio or looking to invest in other areas because of the same somewhat reasons as California. There's things that you don't agree with, I guess, so the direction of the state's heading, and same thing for
Sure.
Craig. Craig is not too happy with how certain things are going in his area, and he's going to be possibly moving locations and relocating, I believe.
Yeah.
But Stephen P does say that's firefighter love. Yeah, definitely. So
Hey, it's
um,
good, man. It's
yeah,
good.
so same thing with Steven. We bash on him about his tech savviness. Trying for him trying to it's painful watching him try to share his screen on the Zoom calls. So,
That's funny.
but yeah, like I said, thanks for doing this, man. This was kind
Yeah,
of last minute. Brandon will
absolutely.
be back next week. He had a great topic he wanted to talk about, but there was something he couldn't get out of. I'll be back tomorrow with Joe and Lauren, my regular on Wednesdays. But we're also gonna have Tom Taylor on. He's from the school community. He's in Montana, close to Kyle Dorn. And like, if anyone wants to jump on Wednesdays with us, let me know. We are bringing on different school members every Wednesday to kind of share their story a little bit and maybe a specific topic that they want to talk about. So yeah, definitely. So Tom will be on tomorrow. He is in the Montana area. But yeah, thanks for doing this, Cameron.
Yeah.
Any final words? Then, so for sure, you will be in Vegas, year 4, right? Oh,
There's a factor that might change that, but right now there's nothing in the works. How's
all
that?
right, all right. And
Yeah.
then, oh yeah,
We
did
can
you
talk
win?
off air about
Did
that.
you win money in Vegas? He is one of the few that
Uh,
gamble, I think, while he's in Vegas.
I had a positive entertainment experience.
But yeah, but that was the last day, right? It was you had that was when everybody left, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it was
You're at that
crazy. It
final,
was
yeah.
great. I was stoked. Yeah, no, I did well. Came home a winner, so I'll take it. But yeah.
Yep. So some final, yep, like Yasik, some, like you said, some proud of everyone in our community trying to get better in all different aspects of our lives. Yep.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think the one thing I'd leave everybody with is like it doesn't have to be a home run. It's just a 1% better every day. That's it. Don't overdo it.
all right, great way to wrap things up. Everyone, Dion also will be going his regular Tuesday live, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
see everyone there and have a great rest of the day, everyone.